My name is Justin Fisher. I have the privilege of serving as the Chief Operating Officer for Lambda Chi Alpha. We'll get to introductions in a little bit here, introduce the panel. But one, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your schedules to be with us. I know 5 o'clock Eastern is not the most convenient time for families, so I appreciate you all making time for us. And we're just really excited to kind of share kind of what's going on in Lambda Chi and different things that you can expect out of your son's experience. So we have an agenda with some desired outcomes or more questions, basically. Big desired outcome is we want you as a parent and a key stakeholder for the fraternity to understand kind of who is Lambda Chi Alpha as an organization, what has my son gotten into. If your sons are like me, when I was in college, you may not get a whole lot of information, so hopefully we can provide an overview of the organization, some of the benefits of membership in terms of our programmatic offerings, our partnerships, and then we're also going to talk about kind of what the future has in store for Lambda Chi. But first, let's get to introductions, and I will let the rest of the panel introduce themselves. We'll start with Simon.
Good evening, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Simon Taylor, and I'm the Chief Learning Officer of Lambda Chi Alpha. I've got a funny accent. I'm from Northern Ireland in the United Kingdom, and I've just moved across to the United States, but I've been with Lambda Chi Alpha for a couple of years now, and it's great to be joining you this evening.
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Kowalski. I am the Vice President of Engagement for the Lambda Chi Alpha Educational Foundation. Welcome. Great to see you all.
Hello, everybody. I'm Noah Dial, the Partnership Engagement Specialist at Lambda Chi Alpha. I handle mostly our work with for and nonprofit partners, mainly the Movember and the American Red Cross.
And just for everyone's awareness, we kind of took the approach as if you knew nothing about Lambda Chi and you're a parent, what would you want to know? So I know that you all may have specific questions about your son's chapter or specific aspects of the experience. We're happy to answer those. Also, our contact information will be listed at the end. So if you want to have like a private conversation, more than willing to schedule a call, answer any questions that you may have. If you have any questions throughout the duration of the Zoom meeting, feel free to drop those into the chat, and we'll be happy to answer those more towards the end. There's a Q&A section at the end, but if you want to use that while we progress through, we have just a short amount of content for you. Feel free to use that. So just who is Lambda Chi Alpha? So we're a social men's fraternity. So we are 115 years old. Just some key stats about kind of who we are. We have 165 chapters active, so open. 2 of those are in Canada. Our average chapter size is 56 members per chapter, and then approximately 238,000 living alumni all over the world. So why that's important is because there are fraternities of many different sizes and ages, and so it is hard to see that when you're on a college campus because you just see like the one chapter that's in front of you, and for your sons, that's kind of what their experience is as well. But we try to expose them to the global Zeta or the entire fraternity throughout their time in Lambda Chi. So this diagram is the most clear way that we try to explain the confusing matter in which we are structured from a governance standpoint. So contrary to popular belief, the general fraternity, which would be like our board of directors or our office, we do not have top-down authority on operations. So what that means is like someone from our office, like I couldn't go to our chapter at Arizona State and say, hey, this is who you need to give bids or invitations of membership to, and this is what events you'll be doing. We operate more on, we provide resources, support, and training. But ultimately that experience is supposed to be more of a self-governance. We really let chapters kind of govern themselves. You'll see on the chart, that they're chapter officers, right? So they are elected every year. The chapters elect them. They are the ones who make all the decisions from what events we do to how much dues are going to be. Any operational decision comes from them. They are supported by our office as well as an advisory board. Most advisory boards are made up of alumni, not necessarily from that chapter, but could be from anywhere. But people that live locally, that volunteer, and really help mentor and support those officers. Other entities that you'll hear about that could be applicable. An alumni association is really just an organization that's made up of chapter alumni. They typically plan fun events, so like a homecoming, tailgates at football games, if that's something that the school that is popular at the school. Maybe some anniversaries or just general alumni gatherings, they plan those. And then the house corporation. So about a third to 40% of our chapters are housed in facilities. So that a house corporation typically owns and manages that property. So they act like a landlord. So if your son is in a chapter that has a facility, you're probably aware of that. They have separate billing, separate management. They manage like the staff in terms of a cook or anyone else that kind of works there. And then we have the chapter members, right? So we, as the fraternity, support chapter members. Dr. Taylor is going to really review the programmatic offerings and how we support individual members as well as the officers or leaders within each chapter. And before we really get into kind of what the different offerings of Lambda Chi are, we really wanted to make sure that you all kind of understood how we view the world and what's going on a macro global level, and kind of how we view fraternity and specifically Lambda Chi as a solution to some of these problems. So if you don't study collegiate enrollment rates as I do, which I'm sure most people do not, there are over 1 million less men in college today for your institutions than there were in 2015. I think it's closer to 1.2, 1.3 million now, which is kind of fascinating and terrifying at the same time. And so in like in the 70s, it was about 70-30 male to female enrollment. And as we approach the 2030s, that's actually going to flip. So it'll be 70% female, 30% male at four-year institutions. There are many reasons for that. There's decline in birth rates. There's many reasons of why that's happening. This generation of student is the most connected and loneliest generation to enter college at the same time. And to put that into like practical context, we have one of our new team members. He just graduated, right? We were going over kind of some generational data, and he remarked that he's always on his phone, right? So he's always connected, but he feels lonely. And that is a common trend that we're kind of seeing with men. And that is something that we want to help solve and how figure out how we can correct that. The perceived value of higher education has never been lower. And so that we've found some research where 14% of adults, 11% of C-suite executives, and 6% of college trustees would agree with the statement that college graduates today are ready for career ready. They're ready for work immediately after leaving college. And while the cost has never been higher, I'm sure I don't have to explain that to all of you. I'm sure you're well aware of that. And then the last issue that we've kind of encountered is that 8% of men, when presented with the opportunity to join a fraternity, obviously we are biased, right? We work for a men's fraternity. We are surrounded by men who've had this experience, who really value the experience. And so we just feel like this can be an answer to so many of these problems. And so we really want to figure out a way to get the fraternal experience, more specifically Lambda Chi, in front of more men. So other data that we have encountered or uncovered, 80% of fraternity men report excellent to good mental health and well-being. And why that's important is this generation also is the most medicated in terms of antidepressant, anti-anxiety than ever before. Now, a large part of that too is they're probably the most diagnosed, right? Where mental health has really come a long way. Fraternity men are 5 times as likely to be satisfied with their lives as alumni as opposed to non-fraternal members. And fraternity men are 3 times more likely to gain an internship and 2 times more likely to have a job waiting for them upon graduation. The last point is 83% of fraternity men report increased confidence in their leadership. You know, we really view the Lambda Chi Alpha as like a learning experience that happens outside of a classroom, right? They get to really have practical experience and get to practice skills in real life in the environment of college and Lambda Chi. So just a quick recap of kind of what is Lambda Chi's performance over the past year. Great news. I think good news might be underselling it. So we are growing as an organization, 7.5% year-over-year growth. We are one of, I believe, 2 or 3 organizations that have grown through COVID. So we actually were able to continue to grow while all that was going on. Members are engaging with programming. We unveiled new programming about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, and we have exceeded goals 300% year over year in terms of adoption and engagement with those programs. Noah's going to talk about our philanthropic wins, but the American Red Cross in Movember, we achieved well beyond what we expected in terms of units of blood donated and money raised for Movember. 93% of chapters have a certified advisor working with them. That's incredibly important to us as well. We have older mentors that can help not only with chapter operations, but also personally help students. And then we have a new database, Salesforce, and a learning management system, Valamis, implemented. That is less important in terms of the direct experience that your son will have. More impactful is that they will get access to tools and information in a better method that is more effective for them.
So, ladies and gentlemen, really what we offer our members is a sense of belonging, development of character, and development of confidence and competence. Look, your young men are joining an organization where belonging sits at its very heart and is designed to attack the problems that Justin has just talked about. By the very experience of spending time together, sharing about their lives and encountering challenges, they will foster belonging that will help them in college, but sets the stage for the rest of their lives. But equally, they will develop character. And character is formed by the experience you encounter and the challenges you engage with and the learning that we provide. And in a minute, I'm going to be going through some of that learning. But as a new member of the organization, they'll be encouraged to take part in a program called Ideal Man. An Ideal Man is very much part of it is an onboarding program where we talk about values and what these mean in the real world and how you can apply those values. They will also learn key skills about living on campus and managing their time, study skills, dealing with anxiety, and how to develop constructive relationships. Because we appreciate that for very young men, many of the young men, this is their first time away from home, obviously, but with a completely new set of individuals. So we are creating this soft learning environment to bring them into Lambda Chi and to help them build their character. And the last piece, and this is where I will really dig into, is developing competence in key areas. Because what Justin outlined there, you know, it's across all the media and it's across all the research. It is very clear that North American universities, and it's not just North American, it's the same in the United Kingdom, are not preparing young men or women indeed for entering the workplace. This is recognised by internship programs, by hiring managers and senior individuals. And yet, your young men are now joining an organisation that is in effect a small business school. If they choose, they are going to learn and experience what it's like to lead teams, what it's like to lead projects, what it's like to look after a budget, how to run a recruiting and sales pipeline, and lots of other things. Now just think about that. Think about what that means in terms of resume, and think about the differentiator when you're going for an interview. So, and really, I am deeply passionate about this organisation because, let's be clear, ladies and gents, I'm a foreigner. And I fully bought into this. My experience is in defence in the United Kingdom and working in the corporate world. And when I met Lambda Chi for the first time, I realised this organisation was different because it was the first organisation outside defence that was deeply, deeply passionate about improving the lives of young people. So I felt I have to be a part of this. So it's a really special organisation. So what we built 2 years ago, or no, just over a year ago, was the Lambda Chi Academy. And it's our centre of excellence. And all the programs that are available to the young men run through the academy. It is fresh, it's intuitive, they can learn on their cell phone, they can learn online on their own, there are exercises to run with their friends, but it's deeply practical. As I said, things such as learning how to lead a project to support a philanthropy effort, learning how to run a budget or a sales pipeline. That's worth its weight in gold because there's a lot of kids leave with a knowledge that really is not relevant to the job market. What we do is relevant to the job market. Next slide. So we have 3 core programs. Ideal Man. The first one, it's all onboarding. It's about onboarding. It's about finding out about yourself. The second one in Ideal Man is about building relationships and what healthy relationships look like. And also digging into a little bit about personality and how you can work in a team. After that, we're then starting to dive into leadership. And following that, we're starting to articulate how do we take this Lambda Chi Greek experience and what does that look like in a resume? How can I bring that alive in an interview in a way that a hiring manager will set up? What are the things that I need to say? That's Ideal Man. Stead Leadership College is where we train our future officers and our serving officers. Ladies and gents, the C-suite. For those of you within the corporate world, this is the learning management system. This is where we train our leaders. And the last bit that we're building out, the electives, we're building a finance course right now. We're doing a partnership with the American Red Cross, a professional course, and these will build here. So I'm very passionate about this. There's a lot on offer and there's a lot for the young men to take advantage of. And be very clear, these are not tick box exercises. We take learning here very seriously. This is an organization that exists to develop and support young men. So if you go into Stead Leadership College, there are bite-sized assessments. Some are 10 minutes, but others are quite meaty, 60 to 90 minutes. For example, my team today have been marking a number of leadership ready assessments that are basically looking at your strengths and your weaknesses and how your life experience has shaped your view of leadership. This is not easy stuff to do. That's not easy stuff to do at our age. We're asking 19-year-old men to do this. So we believe this really helps them develop their character, but that makes us a differentiator. So we mark this, we give feedback, and they get this in the learning management system. Next slide. And then what's the so what? Where does this lead to? Well, they get a digital credential, and a digital credential that are aligned to skills. And this, For example, you can see on the screen, they would take this, they'll put this on LinkedIn. And like, I understand that they don't at this stage of their lives understand how important this is. But I want that young man, when he's going for an interview, to pull up that credential again, refresh his memory, and be prepared to talk to the language of that organization he wants to join. Because he will stand out by dint of what he has just experienced and demonstrated and acquired. And you can see here the programs that we've got running that people can enroll in. So this is a very professional, it's forward leading, and last year we had nearly 250 credentials out the door. We're looking to double it this year. But that's not all. You know, at Lambda Chi, we fully believe in experiential learning. So there are opportunities that if your son takes on a leadership position, he goes away to a central seminar, and then he will take part in a leadership exercise. The one on that looks like a board game, that's basically a chapter challenge. It's running a business, and you run it over a number of hours as you balance resources against the challenges. The other one, mapping your money, it's a finance exercise, and that ran over a day. And we're constantly building these simulations to make learning exciting, but to bridge that gap between campus and career. So that's what we have on offer regarding learning, and I'm now going to hand it over to Katie.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Such a hard act to follow. Everything that he just talked about is all made possible thanks to alumni brothers and friends who donate to the Lambda Chi Alpha Educational Foundation. So our sole mission is to invest in Lambda Chi Alpha and our members, current and alumni brothers as well. So since 2020, we've invested $7 million in these programs. We are very excited about what is coming out of our fraternity team as far as developing these programs, making sure that we're providing a benefit. And these are all included in the cost of their dues. So we're not charging extra for them to, unless it's a conference, that's a little different. But, we try to provide whatever support we can to cover the cost of these programs and make sure there's a benefit. And our hope is that, we are inspiring and educating our alumni brothers and undergraduate brothers to be leaders and philanthropists in the world. We see the ripple effect of folks that are joining and taking part in, belonging to something with shared values, giving back to their community, their world. So with that, we also provide scholarship support because, as Justin mentioned, the higher education experience has never been more expensive. We want to make sure that we lighten the burden there as much as we can. So we have alumni brothers and donors who are very dedicated to providing the scholarship support. Our average award for this school year was about $1,500. So we were able to provide that. So I've got that website there. It will launch later this year. You will get an email if we have one on file. You will be reminded, as will your member. But we have awards that are chapter based. So alumni of that chapter have decided to fund a special program just for those members. So you'll be able to see if those are available on the fraternity website. We also have merit, need-based, and even study abroad program scholarships as well. Finally, I'll say a lot of this is possible thanks to our fundraising event called the Founders Day Challenge. We are kicking that off October 1 as a competition between our many chapters to see who can fundraise the most. We make it fun, and it is how we support these programs every day of the year. So if you're interested in learning more, we'd love to chat with you about that. But this is our charge as the foundation through November 2nd to raise as much as we can to support these programs. Thanks so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. So I'll go ahead and start with how we have been doing with the American Red Cross. So we started our partnership in fall of 2023, and since that partnership has started, we have raised 1,571 units of blood through our partnership, equivalent to 4,713 lives. The goal that was set for us was a lot lower, and we've kind of turned this into more of we are trying to be the forerunners in this space. The way that chapters tend to participate with the American Red Cross is through blood drives, right? But there's other opportunities that we are looking to expand into, such as disaster services or volunteer services and disaster relief coming into this year. But this has been hosted throughout 35 blood drives across 19 different chapters. Some host 2 in a semester, some host 2 in a year, but only hitting 11% of our undergraduate chapters right now. So there's a lot more room for this growth. And already we are in talks to be a similar level of partner to Delta, DHL, Johnson & Johnson, big companies that really we as a nonprofit are able to go to bat with as an organization because of our members' efforts to work with the American Red Cross. When it comes to Movember, this is where we have a lot more fun. Movember, for those who don't know, is the philanthropy that focuses on prostate cancer, the most common cancer in older men, as well as testicular cancer, the most common in younger men, as well as men's mental health and suicide prevention. When it comes to Movember, there is a lot of flexibility in how chapters can fundraise. And it's important to note that we have been the top fundraiser for Movember since we have started in 2022. We have continued to keep this title, and we hope to also defend our title in 2024. Our total fundraising number for last year was $96,543. This was nearly double the next largest fundraising fraternity, as well as puts us very high up amongst universities. The only university that fundraised more than our brothers was Syracuse University. And it puts us also in contention with a lot of other businesses that are fundraising. We beat out businesses like Amazon, NVIDIA, Microsoft that do fundraising challenges just like us. Us as a staff also participate along with Movember. It's a great time where if your member is participating, they can send you a photo of their mustache that they are growing for the philanthropy, right? The whole goal is that while your member is growing a mustache throughout the month of Movember, especially if they don't normally grow facial hair, it's a conversation starter, right? People will ask, why are you growing that mustache? And they can say it for all those causes that I just listed, right? So it's important to me, and I have a lot of passion about both of these projects, but it's doubly important to our members as they are starting to see the impacts of their work, right? We've been able to give out different awards to our top fundraising Red Cross chapters, as well as our Movember fundraisers that get an award. I've heard that there may be a trophy of sorts that we would get for being the top fraternity this year, so I want to make sure that we can win that. Thank you all.
My wife is not the biggest fan of the mustache growing portion of Movember. We have a rule must be gone by Christmas card picture day. So that's my rule. NOAA was really, I think, kind of undersold the Red Cross. I want to be very clear. We were told that 1,500 units was impossible in our first year by the Red Cross. So I want to be very clear that our men went out and accomplished something that, like Noah said, corporations do not even do. And that was 600% the goal, that 1,500 unit number. So very proud of our members and our brothers for all that they did. We host a blood drive at every major conference we do. I literally have sat next to guys that were fighting the urge to like throw up or pass out because they just wanted to give blood and that was important to them. And so just a huge testament to the character of the men that have joined Lambda Chi across North America. So as we look ahead, these are our KPIs or key performance indicators in terms of what we're going to measure this year and what we want to accomplish. So growth is obviously a huge part. We want to end at the high point of the year, have over 10,000 members. I want to highlight that growth is not important just because it is a goal or just because it helps our business model. We truly believe in the experience and the transformational impact that it can have. And we set those growth goals because we feel like it is our responsibility to ensure that more men have the choice of whether to join Lambda Chi or not. You know, at this point, we feel like not enough know about it or not enough hear about the potential benefits. And so everyone deserves the opportunity to hear about this and then make a decision on their own. Continue to develop men through creative and dynamic programming. Simon highlighted that, but our programming, you all have personal experience with this, but at 18 to 22, sometimes what young men want and what they need are two different things. They don't always recognize that, but we want to prepare them for the world and give them experiences. And so it's not just like I was in a fraternity, but like I have skills with demonstrated results that then can be proven. The other part of that with the programming is the creation of belonging. We don't want these to be like surface level friendships of like, yeah, I hung out with these guys in college, but we really want them to have deep, meaningful relationships that will continue with them throughout life, that they'll be able to go through all the ups and downs that life has to offer. And they'll always have a support group and a group of guys that are always with them throughout all of that. And then the third point is volunteers are incredibly important. Our staff is fairly small for the amount of support that we have to provide. And this is only done through the help of volunteers, men that have full-time jobs and families and are willing to drive an hour each way every week to be at a chapter meeting. They're very unsung. I feel like no one really thanks them. No one gets to see kind of all the sacrifices that they and their families have to make. But it's incredibly important that we have those men involved, that we're training them, that we are engaging them, and that that all of our collegiate members are able to kind of benefit from their experience. So those are the main pillars or items that we are after to achieve for this upcoming year. We can move into Q&A now. So if you have any questions, you can either put them in the chat, or I think you should have the ability to unmute and ask as well.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you guys do safety checks of the buildings before the students move in the fall?
So that is actually something, that's a great question. That would be something that would be managed by that local house corporation, if it's a house corporation owned facility. So with our insurance broker, Favor and Company, they actually will partner with, they find local inspectors, and they inspect every facility at a minimum every 3 years. So they furnish a full report that gets sent with recommendations back to the house corporation, and then they can also schedule to have like a follow-up inspection done after that.
I have a question. Then I raised my hand. I don't know if you guys saw it, but I saw that you made a reference to the international program and study abroad, basically. How, if at all, the fraternity can help to kind of broaden the experience in that direction as well?
I will take that. As I think you're referring to the scholarships that we offer.
Or in
So-
general,
general.
opening doors, making those young men understand the opportunities and really begin to think about it and eventually make a decision.
Yeah, so I will speak. I'll speak directly to at least the scholarship program. That's what I can speak to. But we it's in our second year. So we've already awarded over $35,000 for scholarships through that program, and we really look to have those applicants tell us how that program is going to benefit them personally and in their career, and that's really where we take the most stock in that experience for them and providing that support for them to attend. Justin, do you want to comment on just the broadening their horizons overall?
Yeah, thanks, Katie. Yeah, I think we really in terms of just study abroad, I don't think we don't have a program directly for the fraternity to like schedule study abroad. We definitely encourage them to take advantage of all the opportunities that are available to them at their host institution. And so like I know at like a University of Denver, everyone in their junior year studies abroad. It's like a very normative if you go to that school. So it really depends upon the institution, I think, in which whether or not people study abroad more or less. But I think we would encourage them to try anything new that would give them a new perspective on kind of life. We have a question in the chat. It says, any help with locating or finding internships? So I think this is a longer term goal in terms of we want to create kind of this connection machine where people can find and locate different Lambda Chi's, both for personal or like career aspirations. As of right now, I would say it really depends upon the chapter and the field and like what geographic area they're looking for. So if that's something that you want to have a more specific question about, feel free to email me and we can get you connected to kind of some other people locally in the area or maybe that are connected with your son's chapter. And I'll put my email in the chat. You also all received emails from me in terms of about this. Are the chapter members informed about opportunities with Lambda Chi Academy at chapter meetings? Keely, I hope so. I'll be honest. I feel like we have tried to spread this message as much as possible through different channels of social media, email. When we visit, we try to get this information to advisors. You know, I would say, unfortunately, that message doesn't always make it there. So if you happen to talk to your son, would love for you to also plug it. Also, if you like or don't know a whole lot about it, but you want him to talk to someone on our team, we would be happy to kind of walk through the benefits or send materials as well about the programs that you all can share. But that's definitely something where we are continually trying to push our message and benefits so that everyone can hear about that. Can you share the support for new chapters? Son has well, Greg, congratulations. We actually just restarted at Nebraska Lincoln a couple weeks ago. So he probably met Alex. Alex is our recruitment coordinator that's on site in Lincoln. I think he comes back in a couple of days. So we actually support new chapters in a variety of ways. So number one, we ensure that all new chapters have an advisory board of at least 5 members that are trained and certified, that are going to surround that new chapter with a lot of support and help. We spend a great deal of time on site actively recruiting and training them. They will get to meet Elliot, another member of our team, towards the end of the fall. He will actually be doing officer training with them in person. And then he'll meet weekly with the chapter president on Zoom. And that will continue through chartering. And they actually will also have a retreat weekend that's facilitated by our staff. They'll do some strategic vision items, and they'll also kind of map out kind of who do we want to be as a chapter, what do we want the next 1 to 2 years to look like. So we try to provide as much support as possible for new chapters, understanding that is a lot to undertake.
There is a question from Jennifer in the Q&A. How would I set up a chapter money matters session with a broker in the area who wants to teach some money basics?
So if we have an external partner and they were interested in working with the chapter, look, that's very much up to the chapter. We operate like a franchise model. I would, however, naturally, to be protective, I would love to engage with that individual to see what they were going to do, to see how we could support that. But look, we are a learning institution, so I'd be fascinated to see what they could offer, and equally, could we then scale that across the organization? So if you could just put my email in the chat. And I just want to jump on a previous comment or question about internships. And it sort of links into that alumni and the networking piece. I'll give you this little vignette from the summer. We took about nearly 200 young leaders to Arizona, and we ran a networking event of about half decided to attend. And you can imagine every career sector was represented by alumni. And it was all just about finding out about the job and what they should do to prepare for that role. And this young lad comes up to me and he goes, I really want to join CDC. And I go, well, I've never heard of this. What is CDC? So he explains it to me and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to field this one? Well, sure enough, an alumnus was walking past and he just went, CDC? My best friend works in this area. Give me your details right now. I'm going to make sure that you're connected. And that is the beautiful power of this organization. Look, we can't get them jobs. We can't put them in front of the people and give them the skills to help them get that job. They are joining a truly wonderful network if, here's the big if, they decide to take advantage of it. You know, and it's a bit like the learning piece. They've got to do their part.
There's another question in the chat. You mentioned this generation most connected but lonely. I do see that. Is there support for our men's mental well-being? Yeah, so we really rely on our partnerships to provide that, and we're very clear with the membership as well. Like our role as brothers who care about each other should be to help people get connected to experts and people who are trained to do this, and not try to provide that support ourselves. So we really rely on our partnerships with both Movember and the JED Foundation to provide those resources. But I would say locally, the thing that we found the most success with is ensuring that each of our members knows the resources that are available on campus at their school, because that'll be there in person, someone that they can talk to, and things that they can immediately get their hands on that aren't going to be happening either through Zoom or otherwise. If there are no other questions, we can go ahead and wrap up. I again want to be really respectful of everyone's time. Our emails are listed on the screen, so please take those down. Happy to answer any questions that you may have, or if you have, if questions come up throughout the year, happy to either set up a call or answer those through email. Once again, want to thank everyone for their time. We will have another one of these later. I think it'll be October or November. And we're also probably going to schedule it later. So I know our West Coast parents, 2 p.m., probably not the most convenient. So we'll try to ensure that it's later so we can catch more people. This is being recorded and will be sent out. So if there's something that came up that you missed, or that will be made available as well. But thank you again, and I hope you all have a great day and evening.
Thank you.